Hey guys, it's Will. It's Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society, and what I have for you today is a Blu-ray review, and not just any Blu-ray, a review of a movie that I really, really love. If you watch this channel, you know it's one of my favorite Jackie Chan movies, one of my favorite action comedies, one of my favorite Three Brothers films, one of my favorite kind of movies in general to just throw on that's like super fun to watch over and over again. The movie is Wheels on Meals, and I have here the Eureka Blu-ray release. So I have to give a shout out to Foreign Exchange Blu-ray. This is a store in Culver City, which is like a city within Los Angeles. And Daryl, who's the guy who owns it, sells Blu-rays from all over the world, and his prices are extremely like beyond reasonable. Like the first time I went there, I was expecting it to be super expensive, and I was like, "Wait, what? This is like cheaper than Best Buy in some cases." And so I picked up Wheels on Meals and Iron Monkey, also the Eureka release, which is right here from him. This was like a week and a half ago. It's really hard for me to get out on the weekends because if you watch this channel, you'll know I have young kids. If you don't watch this channel, subscribe. Yay, thank you. We've got a lot of new subscribers. It's super cool. Thank you to everyone who's sharing all our videos. So it's hard for me to get out on the weekends because I have the kids, especially with like coronavirus stuff. I don't want to like take the kids to a store to like buy stuff and whatever. So I was messaging him on Instagram, and he was like, well, you know, why don't I just bring the discs by your house on my way home? And I was like, what? And he just drove over and dropped these off for me. I just paid him on PayPal. So a huge thank you to Daryl and to Foreign Exchange Blu-ray. I will put a link in the description of this video where you can check them out, because you can order from them online too, like tons of amazing stuff from all over the world. I also bought my multi-region Blu-ray player from him. So, we interviewed him for our other channel. I have a channel called Terrible Infant that I do with like friends. It's more like collaborative stuff. We interviewed him for that channel a couple years ago. So I'll put the link for that video in the description here too if you're interested in it. But and the other thing I want to say before I get deep into this video is I got up at 4 a.m. today to interview someone for this channel. So it's an awesome interview. I'm really excited about it. It went really well. He's super funny. He had a lot of great stories. I don't want to reveal who it is right this second because I don't know if it will be announced by the time this video goes up, but it's a really exciting interview. It's someone who played a prominent role in a movie I have talked about recently on this channel. It's not like Sammo Hung or someone like that, but it's a super cool interview. So I'm tired as hell. So hopefully we can get through this video without any snafus. But I'm going to talk about the physical kind of present, like the packaging. I'm going to talk about the way the movie looks, and I'll talk about the bonus features. So you have this here, which is like very easily identifiable as Wheels on Meals, and like the artwork here. Obviously, when you have the Kung Fu Bob covers that 88 Film spoils us with, you get so accustomed to that. Then I'm like, this is like, it's fine, right? It's like we know that's Wheels on Meals. It's kind of a cool arrangement of the figures on the space here, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not, you know, like I would love to see what Kung Fu Bob would do with Wheels on Meals. So then we open up the case here, and it's just like this kind of like standard Blu-ray case. And I should show you the disc, which is just kind of that same artwork again. And then we pop the disc out, and it's just this picture of the three of them, Jackie and Sammo and Yun Biu, kind of doing their thing there that's from the fencing scene at the end of the movie. So I have watched this movie probably like 6 times in a week because my older son, became obsessed with it, and he just wants to watch it over and over and over again the way that kids do. It's really nice for me because I'm like, yeah, of course I'd rather watch Wheels on Meals than, you know, Frozen 2 for the 900th time. So I can tell you a lot about how this looks because I have watched it a lot. This is a revelation. I have a buttload of copies of this movie. If you've seen some of the other videos I've done recently, there's a Korean DVD of it, I think, behind me somewhere, or it's lurking around here somewhere. I also have the Hong Kong Rescue Blu-ray release, which is taken from a Japanese Blu-ray. I have this old school Hong Kong DVD. I watched this streaming on Amazon maybe a year or so ago. I've seen many, many versions of this movie, and I have never seen this movie look like this. And it's almost like when I first saw Miracles from 88 Films, after like only really having seen it on an older DVD, it's one of those like pinch yourself moments of like, what? Like, you know, there's that scene where they're washing their car in the food truck here. They're washing it in like a little square in the beginning of the movie, and there's a high shot of like kind of a camera pan at the top of the square. You can see like the layers of the tree. And I'm not just talking about here's the leaves, here's the branches. On the branch, you can see where some of the bark has been peeled away and like the different shades of green. And you can see like the moisture on the branch, like it obviously had rained that day or something like that. Like the clarity of the image, it almost feels fake because it's so good, and the colors are like just like exploding in your face. And when you have the movies like Dragons Forever, right, and when those get restored, it's not, to me, that's not as much of a revelation in terms of what you're looking at, because I've seen Dragons Forever on like high quality DVDs before, right? This movie I've seen decent DVDs of, but it's this is a 2K remaster, right? And like, it almost feels like somebody went in and made the colors burst more than they did, right? And I'm not saying that Eureka did that. I have no idea what their process was. I did no research on this. I'm not accusing Eureka of having done that, but there's a scene in this movie where that you'll be familiar with if you've seen the movie, where the bad guys, basically, who work for the brother character, are trying to kidnap Sylvia in a public space, and Yoon Bu and Sammo Hung are chasing them. And as the director, Sammo Hung does this classic action movie thing where you give very distinct, bold colors in the costumes of the main characters, and then the other characters are all kind of dressed in like gray and black and stuff like that, so they don't stand out as much, right? So you have Yoon Bu wearing all blue, you have Sylvia wearing this bright orange jacket, and you have Sammo in a yellow hat, and that's how you can pick them out amidst the fight scene, right? It's like stunning. The colors, they're just like so, and like the yellow of the van, and everything just pops, and it's insane. And this to me is like as good as any of the like Jackie Chan movies that I've seen restored on Blu-ray in terms of the picture quality. So in terms of the extras, I will say that this is like just outside the top tier. My like god tier, unimpeachable, like 5-star, like must-have Blu-ray releases for Jackie movies right now, or in Three Brothers movies, I should say, in general, are the Criterion release of Police Story, which I have behind me here and which I reviewed recently. The Heart of Dragon release, which has my favorite Jackie Chan bonus feature ever, which I've talked about before, which is like this 50-minute long Japanese documentary about the making of that film. And then Dragons Forever, because there's just so much. There's like 3 cuts in the movie on Dragons Forever or something like that, and there's like just tons of bonus material on there. This just misses that for me. The bonus material, and I'll just read it to you here, right, are so they have multiple language tracks on here, so I'll tell you what those are. I watched it with the mono Cantonese, which I love those old mono tracks. It just reminds me of, like, you know, seeing the movies for the first time, and, you know, if you've seen film prints in like second run theaters and stuff like that. So original Cantonese audio track available in original mono and a newly restored version. Optional English audio from the film's international release, featuring an alternate and much funkier soundtrack, available in both both original mono and the remaster. Alternate English dub from 2006. So I have watched both of the dubs because my kid is not old enough to read subtitles. So I prefer the 2006 dub, but I know that people who had the film back in the day, you know, they want that like old school dub. So they're both on there if you want to check it out. And then you have 2 interviews with Sammo Hung. I think there's 2. Yeah, so there's 17 minutes worth of interviews with Sammo Hung. One is 7 minutes, one is 10 minutes. There's an interview with Yoon Bu that's pretty long, 15 minutes. There's a Benny Urquidez interview that's 28 minutes. So this is Benny Urquidez here, and it's 28 minutes of like his whole career working with Jackie, like all the movies and stuff like that. Keith Vitale, who is in this film, he's not pictured on the cover here, but he's the guy who fights Yoon Bu at the end, and he gets smashed over the head with the vase. And then you have Stanley Tong is interviewed on here. And if you don't know who that is, Stanley Tong directed Super Cop. So obviously knows Jackie very well. And then he directed some of Martial Law, the TV series in the U.S. that Sammo Hung was in. And you get the Japanese credits which have a blooper reel, and then 4 extra minutes of blooper reels on top of that. What else? There's trailers. Okay, so to talk about the interviews, the Benny Urquidez interview and the Keith Vitale interview are both great. I've reviewed those before, interestingly enough, because they are on this release. So they're just really great. I mean, you know, Benny Urquidez talks about like kind of the whole history of like full contact karate, kickboxing, martial arts, and that world that he was involved in and became a champion in, and how he met Jackie and how Jackie would develop his fight choreography, and like the two of them would talk a lot on the set of the movie and stuff like that. A lot of the interviews touch upon the supposed animosity between Jackie and Benny Urquidez, and basically what it seems to boil down to is the fact that when they were shooting that fight scene, they accidentally hit each other a bunch of times, that fight scene at the end. And there were some scenes where, or some shots where Sammo actually asked them if they really would hit each other. And they, I mean, I would imagine you would get pretty irritated and pissed if that was happening. But there was no long stand, like nothing lasted beyond that. They just really annoyed each other, I think, filming that fight scene because it was really brutal and they were in competition with one another, basically, right? But Keith Vitale has a really great memory, and he talks about how he was like kind of surprised that they wanted him for the movie and how he had to learn to adapt to screen fighting versus like actually fighting, because he's a karate. I think he's a karate or kickbox taekwondo guy. And Stanley Tong's interview is great and covers like a whole range of his career and stuff like that. The Yoon Bu one is really interesting because he talks about basically how he got into filmmaking, like how he got into like stunt work through Sammo, and he talks about how Sammo was kind of always thought of as having this really great predisposition to filmmaking, and how like directors on movies that Sammo was doing fight choreography for or acting in would ask him for help, be like, Sammo, can you figure that out, can you deal with that? Like he's always just been really great at the filmmaking aspect of it. Talks about how Jackie got involved with them and stuff like that. Sammo talks about why they decided to film in Barcelona. Like they wanted a city that would look completely different from Hong Kong, that would be something really cool for Hong Kong audiences to see, that would take them to like a different world and stuff like that. He talks about like kind of the development of the characters and things like that. So you get like this really well-rounded behind-the-scenes portrait of how this movie was made from the mouths of the people who made it. You like, there's honestly, with this release, there's nothing to complain about. There's no audio commentaries. Like I know that some people really love those. I absolutely love the Mike Leader Arna Venema ones on the 88 releases. I've also loved a lot of the other commentaries on the 88 releases. The 8 Diagram Pole Fighter one was great. Kung Fu Bob's on the Master was really great. So you learn a lot from those. And there's not one of those on here. But other than that, there's not a single thing about this I would complain about. There are things that you could say like, oh, it doesn't have a slipcover, or it doesn't have like better artwork, or like you could say, oh, I wish it had X, Y, and Z, but with regards to what it is and what it has, it's a fantastic release. If you like this movie, you have to go and get it. That's basically the bottom line for me. Like if you're a Jackie Chan fan, if you're a Three Brothers fan, if you're a Sammo Hung fan, or just a fan of these 80s Hong Kong movies in general, this is like a must-have release. It's like just below my top tier. Like if I were doing like I think it's easier to do 10 stars, because if you do 5, you're like, well, is it a 4? No, because it's better than a 4. Is it a 4.5? Is it like out of 10 stars, I give this like an 8 or a 9. Like it's basically perfect for what it is. It doesn't go above and beyond, but it does everything you would want it to do. So it's the Wheels on Meals Eureka release. Shout out to Foreign Exchange Bluray for hooking me up with this. Well, I mean, I paid for it, but you know what I mean? For bringing it over and making it available to me. One of my favorite movies ever, and now I have yet another edition of it. My name is Will. Drop in the comments below what other Eureka releases I should be looking out for, picking up, what movies you want to be released that haven't been yet. I get so many messages on Instagram, either comments or direct messages about like, when are we going to get, Winners and Sinners, My Lucky Stars, and Twinkle Twinkle. So yeah, let us know what's up. My name is Will. This is Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. We will see you next time.